Everybody, welcome to the Paralegal Power Webinar, How Top Paralegals Use Neos. I'm Marissa Cepega. I'm the Director of Product Marketing and Assembly Software. And right here, I have our two hosts, Holly Presley and Erica Godinez Martinez. Holly Presley and Erica are both from Queener Law. Holly has a master's in elementary education. She's been with Queener for over 5 years and has spent 4 years with Neos. And she enjoys taxi driving her children around, hanging out with family, or reading in her free time. Erica is a paralegal with Queener. She's been there for 1 year, also 1 year on NEOS. She has a master's in criminal justice, and she enjoys teaching, dancing, and spending time with family and shopping. So a few quick housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded. If you have to leave halfway through, run to get a sandwich, etc., we will be sending you the link to the recording. You can watch it at your leisure. Also, if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A and we will get to them at the very end. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Holly and Erica.
All right. Thank you all for joining. As she said, I'm Holly. This is Erica. We are a little nervous. This is our first time doing something like this, so just bear with us. But we wanted to take the opportunity to talk to everybody about how you can take the time and personalize and customize so much of the Neos software to make your firm so much more efficient than it already is. It really cuts down on time, work, and it just really makes our job time to customize all of the options that Neos offers us. So we're going to kind of take you through the steps of a typical case. For those of you in different states, we are in Colorado, so our rules and guidelines and steps may be a little bit different than yours, but for the most part, you'll see all the opportunities that you are able to take to help your firm in whatever state you're in to meet your needs. So the very beginning of what we do when we start a new case or we have just any phone call that comes in is we take advantage of the Intake Pro through Neos that is offered through the Platinum tier. So Erica is going to start off and show you how we have personalized and customized our Intake Pro process to make it go as smoothly as possible and to also help us be efficient in our next steps.
Alrighty, so for the first thing is I'm gonna have Holly call us, so that way I can show you guys how it looks like when we have potential calling and how we can go with doing the screening. So I'll have her give us a call.
Oh, Robin answered. It's fine. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry about that.
Our receptionist answered the call, but typically we do have the integration with Ring Central. So when we call our main phone line, we'll have a window pop up on the top of the screen right here, and it will have the phone number that is calling. It will automatically search through the database to see if this person is already in our system, if they are a client or a witness or just anybody that's ever been in our system. If it is already in our system, then it gives us the option to just click a button and it will automatically open up their Neos file for us. If they are not in our system, then it will give us the option to create a new intake. So with our integration in our Intake Pro, it will automatically open up to a new intake page.
So this is when we have a client call and we are doing a screening, the first thing I do is I go over to case type. We have 3 different offices here in Colorado, one in Tennessee, one in Kentucky. So we have, as you can see here, different types of layouts, different forms. You can see Kentucky, Tennessee. So let's just pretend for this one, we are going to be doing a motor vehicle accident. since I'm the one doing the screening, I will always go put my initials.
And because we have the different states, as she was showing you the different options, we've set this up so that each option has a different intake pro format. So for example, the motor vehicle option for the intake pro comes up with screening questions and intake questions specifically for a Colorado motor vehicle case. If we did a Tennessee motor vehicle case or a Tennessee premises case, all of these options would be different. This is fully customized by our firm to meet the needs of what we want for our office and our clients. And everything that we put in here is then transitioned into the actual intake and the case so that we're not duplicating any work or doubling any work. But the biggest helpful thing here is that it's already set up for the type of case that it's going to be, whether it be premises, motor vehicle, wrongful death, anything that you're doing, it is automatically customized already for us.
Yes. So that being said, I'll just kind of go down how I do it. I always start asking what their first name is and then their last name. We see that we don't have a party for them listed. So I go down here, we click client. That is very, very important. You scroll down, the role is plaintiff, and then I always ask for their phone number.
And if you're answering it through the Ring Central integration, that phone number will automatically insert itself into here.
Yes. So usually I scroll down and then I always ask, if they were referred by somebody, Google, an attorney, go ahead and put that in here. Here's this screening criteria, which I will go back to in just a second and explain this. Like Holly has mentioned, a lot of this, all of it is customizable to fit your office needs. So this is something that is helpful for our office, but I'll touch base a little bit on that here in a couple minutes. So I always start date of incident, got to know when it happened. So we'll say it happened last week. We'll say it happened around 12 a.m. Location, I asked city, synopsis, ask them, tell me what happened, how the accident occurred. Go ahead and type all this in. Injury description as well. I always ask if there was police present. As you can see, even without me scrolling down, there are a lot of fields. It definitely seems overwhelming because it is quite a lot of information that we ask. But if this is something that you do not want to do, if this is just a lot, you can always use dynamic fields. We just have this set up for our office needs because we would rather get as much information as we can when we're doing the screening and intake, so that way we have that ready if and when we decide to make this a case, because all the information that is in here will sync over to the case. So for the screening, I do get, like I said, police information. I ask if there's a report number. A lot of the times they may not have it handy, and that's okay. I always just tell them, for the intake, we can get that. Always ask at fault admissions, types of vehicles involved, being that this is a motor vehicle accident. These are the types of questions it's going to ask.
And if it was a different type of case, it would automatically ask different questions. Obviously, for like a slip and fall case, we don't need to know the types of vehicles. So they're usually not involved in a slip and fall. So it will ask different questions, such as the location. It'll ask if they know the property management company.
Signs.
Yes, if there were any signs or warnings about, maybe ice buildup or wet floor or something like that, it will automatically ask that in there. We've customized that to meet our needs. And so we have it in there already, and we don't have to later on down the road get surprised by information that we didn't ask or weren't provided.
Right. So yeah. So usually once I get to witness details, that's kind of when I do my stopping point for the screening, and I scroll back up to screening criteria. Given the information they have given me, I will decide if this is something that they are not at fault. If there was, fatality involved or surgery, we'll say that they went to the ambulance that same day, demeanor nice and organized. So for our marketing campaign, we get 5 stars, and the marketing campaign just really helps us figure out if this is a case that we are able to take on. And that way, if so, then we can get them set up for an intake process, which typically our intake is done by Holly. So I will have her explain that process to you all.
Yeah, and just want to flip back to the screening just really quick. This is just another example of, like she said, having different fields that you can create on your own and customize through the Intake Pro, or with the Platinum tier format. Obviously, this is something that we customized ourselves. This is not something that we just, use and try to fit into our puzzle. For example, already a lot. Sometimes you can tell that when people are calling, they're already a lot. You don't always take every single case that comes by. So this is something that helps us determine whether it's a case that we do want to take on or not. It also automatically saves into, let me save this information so I can show you. The stage and status process of Intake Pro is something also that we have customized. So we have different options here. So for evaluation, we can put what that rating was. That way, when our attorney wants to run some reports, some of the customized reports that she has created to see what types of cases we are taking in, and to, just do some reporting or some research on the types of cases, the level of confidence we have in cases at the beginning versus how they end up. She can do that because we have already set that up at the very beginning. So once we've done that, we can go ahead and schedule the intake through me with the case calendar. We've got that synced to our Outlook, so it automatically sends me a notification and puts it on my calendar for me. Then a big thing that we do with Neos and with the Platinum tier is Neos is like our holy grail. Neos is our holding center for everything. We never recreate the wheel. We are never writing documents from scratch. Every single one of our documents that goes out, we already have a template for, and we have integrated that into Neos. So after I'm doing the intake, or while I'm doing the intake, I'm also working on the client representation agreement. Because this is in the intake status, we have it set up so that it's only showing us the documents that we would need to send during an intake. So for example, see, we have all 3 different states here as well. So this is the one that we typically use, and I can create it while I'm on the phone with them or in the Zoom with them, and set it up for them. This is why it was so important to mark the potential as a plaintiff, because we use templates for everything that are already integrated into Neos. They are programmed to put certain positions or certain parties in certain spots in the document. So we want to make sure that Rachel Green gets put in as the plaintiff in the client representation agreement. Like she said, we do have multiple offices. So Neos is set up and integrated with DocuSign, so you can just simply send the agreement to the client through DocuSign. It takes the email address that you've put in and it automatically sends it to them. They get it, they sign it electronically. It will automatically notify you when it's signed, and it will save it in the Documents tab if you have that set up. Because we have multiple offices, we do things a little bit differently because we have different accounts for different programs. So for example, our location uses Adobe Sign. So I don't send it through DocuSign. I do it outside and send it through Adobe Sign. So I'm not using that feature. We always label our documents for ease of use or ease of finding it later on. We have all of these customized types of documents, which is any category you can think of. And each type has a subcategory section. So we can narrow down what this is, so that we can, without opening the document, we can see what it is before we open it. So we just generate it and it processes. It'll show up on here. Sometimes we've got to hit refresh for it to show up. Sometimes it'll just pop up automatically, but we can view it from here. And then if we haven't sent it through DocuSign, or if we just want to go ahead and send them another copy to their email, rather than through DocuSign, we have this also linked to our email address. Or to our Outlook, so that we can send it to them through email. We didn't type in an email address in the intake just for sake of time, but this would pop up on here. We can send them a message, decide whether or not to send it as a Word document, PDF, or a link. We can even schedule what time we want it to send and what day. So we can just hit send. I'll just type in my email address just so we can show you how we've got this program to do. Hit send, and then if it's linked to the email in the case, it will automatically show up here as the PDF and here as the note. So that is just the rough draft of how we have edited, customized, added to the Intake Pro Platinum tier level to meet our needs. Now, I typically would go through all of this information and fill it out. I'm just going to add a couple things just for the sake of time. Just to show you how we've set them up to transition. So like we said, because this is motor vehicle, it's going to ask us the at-fault driver's name and insurance company. So we'll say that the bad guy was the one that hit her, and he also has the lovely insurance company. So we have also customize this insurance type drop-down menu. You'll notice that we have liability. We have second and third liability as well. As you know, sometimes there's more than one insurance company in the liability. So we like to know which one's primary, secondary, etc. This means that we can just look here and see the answer to that rather than having to go through documents or other notes to find it. If they have the claim number already, great, we'll put that in. We can go ahead and put their insurance in. Health insurance is in here. We've got the options for health insurance. We also have it for Medicaid, Medicare. I like these labels being available so that I can see, is this, there's 8,000 different Medicares or something, is this one or that one or this one? Is it really United or is it United Medicare? So having this label helps us know that by just glancing. We go ahead and I'll just put in one provider. We'll go ahead and ask some of them. We'll just do Swedish for now, just for an example. I can mark them done treating. I will let you know why that's important soon. We also have this drop-down menu as well that we have personalized through this Platinum tier that tells us, is this a provider that they're actively treating with for related injuries, or is it something that they are treating with that's completely unrelated? These are more for litigation records requests that we use. So I'm primarily for intake using these. And further down, we also go through some medical history. We like to go ahead and get that in the intake. We have customized that as well. to not only protect our clients, but ourselves. A lot of times in an intake, if you're just saying, okay, tell me about your past medical history, past injuries, they go blank, they can't think of things. So we ask very specific questions so that we can hit all of those bases. That way we don't have surprises later on when we get the medical records. It also protects us. So we can say, look, in our intake, we asked you this question and this is how you answered it. And that was not honest. So we do this, to protect everybody that is involved. All of this, again, is programmed to automatically sync into our case when this is made into a case. So I will let Erica show us how she makes this a case and some of the customizations we have done for that process as well.
So when it's my turn to make a case, I will always go back into this page and click these three little dots up top. Go down, click make a case, and then you're going to choose case, choose primary staff. So I'll explain a little bit here in a couple minutes on why this is our attorney's initials. So I'll explain a little bit as to why it's important to have the correct primary staff here listed. So go ahead and click done. And then, so this is how it looks like with our case opened. As you can see, this top here, it already tells us the date of the incident, already gives us the SOL, so you don't have to, pull out your calendar and try to do it manually. This, like Holly has said a lot before, this is very totally customizable to fit your office needs. As you can see, we have case type, case title. So here it'll say Rachel Green versus da 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 da. Once we fill that in, class type. So these are the class types that we use. Again, totally customizable. So we will just say that she is treating. So treatment is in progress. We're just gonna save that real quick.
And making sure that class is updated and on the right category is important because it actually triggers things later on that I'll show you on our checklist, but it triggers different steps and tasks in the case.
Yes. And then as well here, so if we end up, let's say we're going court for this one, it'll tell us here all the information, the judge name, the docket, trial date, and then here's that little marketing campaign that we had showed you guys earlier. So if I scroll down here, so here where it says assigned to, this is why it's important to make sure that everybody is assigned to the right staff number, because there are certain checklist items that are assigned to certain staff numbers. So if, let's say, if I was assigned by accident as staff number 1, I would be getting all of the attorneys, all her checklist items. So that wouldn't be good. So it's always important. I always make sure that this is right. It always is, but I always just like to double check and make sure because like I said, it will definitely mess up with the checklist. And then you scroll down and all of this typically is filled out as well because this is all the information I get from the screening. And like we've mentioned before, everything it syncs over so that way when you do make it a case, all the information is there. It might seem like a lot at the beginning to, fill in all this information when you're first talking to a potential, but it saves you some time for sure once you have the case. So if we go to this insurance tab, you will see here State Farm liability, which is what Holly had put in the intake. And all these tabs here that you see, again, they're totally customizable to fit your office needs. This is just how we have it here set up. This is what works best for us. It might not be what works best for you, but you know.
And these can also be customized per case type. So if we wanted different tabs, different categories for a different type of case, like a premises liability case, we could have all of these automatically pop up differently. The same way with having multiple offices within the same firm. Our other offices may have different tabs that they do or different routines because they're in different states. So theirs could look completely different from ours, depending on which case type they picked out in the Intake Pro.
Yes. And then, so we'll go down to MedRecs and bills. So this is where we have all the providers listed. Super easy. If you want to add more, you just click add. You'll fill in the provider, fill in the doctor's name. If they're done treating, here's that little checkbox. And then we have here just comments and value notes. That way it's easier for us to, if, let's say a client did a no-show for this appointment, we can put that here. So that way we know, we're aware of what's going on. Let me just exit out of this one. And then we're gonna go back to, oh, this is the party tab. So let's say I get my police report in and I'm ready to add the defendants involved. So I will go up to quick add and click party, and then I type in whatever name. I will do new party. Is this person? Yes. Go through the motions of adding them so that way they are in the party. Super important to add, especially all defendants involved. And then one other thing as well is here on the top where it says open, this is the date that is, obviously when we open the case. This is super important because that is what our checklist items will kind of go off. So Holly will talk a little bit more on how checklist items are triggered, but keep in mind that this date here when it's open is super important when it comes to the checklist items.
So our checklist items, it's the meat and potatoes of how our law firm runs efficiently. It assigns us our daily tasks. It tells us what is next, what needs to be done in the case. And I think most importantly, it is a surefire way to prevent anything from falling through the cracks. If you forget to do something, your checklist is going to remind you, and it's set up how we've customized it. It is set up to remind you before it's due. It is set up to remind you in advance so you've got time to work on it. We have set up our checklist literally from beginning to end. That did definitely take time. However, it is worth it because we never have to ask anybody, where is a case at? What stage is this case at? What do I need to do next for this case? Where are we at on this? All we have to do is look at our checklist and it automatically tells us what we're waiting on, what we need to be following up on, and what we need to do next. These case dates are also connected to the checklist triggers as well. So, say we put in a released treatment date, when they're done treating. So let's just say, well, let's see, we had the date of loss here as today. We'll backtrack that a little bit just so we can show you as an example. But then we'll just say they just did an ER visit or something. So they were done the next day. And then as the case goes on, as our stages, our classes change, we fill in some more of this information. Not only is this important for the checklist, it's also important just to be efficient when you're taking a phone call or when you are filing or creating documents. Some of these dates will sink into some of the documents. If I get a call from the clerk, for a case that's in litigation, and she says she's calling about docket number da 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 da. I see up here, I'm in the right case, and she wants to know, what do you have as your at issue date? It'll be in here. What do you have as your discovery cutoff? It's in here. If a client calls and asks me any of that, I just come to this tab and I've got it all right here. Moving on to the checklist, like I said, it's our meat and potatoes. It is my favorite tab. It is, in my opinion, the most important tab. Again, we've taken the time to fully customize and integrate other resources to fit our needs and our clients' needs. It's actually something that is ever evolving. We continue to tweak it here and there, depending on the case, or depending on the client, or, as time progresses and things change in the business a little bit. For example, I made some changes yesterday to some of the checklists. So the first one that we do, I come in and I hit that the rep agreement has been signed. This automatically creates all of these checklist items assigned to Erica, as she is the person that is in charge of doing these tasks. The checklist items are automatically set up to trigger on the day that we want them done. So the day that we have a client sign up, we want these tasks done, our initial letters of representation and things like that. We want on that first date that they have signed our client representation agreement. The checklist will also trigger to that person that is in charge of that task. So it automatically will populate on her end what she needs to do and when she needs to do it by. Another integration that we use is Case Pulse. Case Pulse is a really good way to help keep our clients informed of some of the stepping stones of their case. I know there are a few companies that do this, but we use Case Pulse. So we initially send them a portal invitation the day that they sign. And then the checklist items, we have certain triggers throughout the case that will automatically send the client updates through Case Pulse with a video from our attorney explaining what is going on at this point in the case. They can also send us messages or documents through Case Pulse, and it will automatically notify us and save the documents into the documents tab for us automatically. As you can see, our checklist is long. We have a lot of it, but we can filter it to see only tasks that are assigned to us individually, or only tasks that are due that day. So you don't have to see all of this at the same time. I just have it set up like this to show you some of the different features that we have. So another really cool thing that we have done with the checklist, and again, I could go through these and mark these done, and it will show you literally all of the way through the case to settlement. Or if you're not settling and you want to, it's something that you're going to be filing suit on, we have an answer for that too. The last checklist item on this whole pre-lit series for motor vehicle cases, because remember, this is customized to the case type, not just to, our firm. We have made it for the case type. It gives you the option, okay, let's look at this case for litigation. If our attorney decides, yep, we're going to file, she'll click a checklist item. It triggers me to do some things. And then we have a whole nother set of customized checklists. My opinion of the checklist, these are the most important and the most helpful. Again, we have different types for our different firms and different offices in different states. But this one is motor vehicle in Colorado, and it's our litigation checklist. So this is staff role dependent. It's not going to populate because I haven't filled out the some of these. The suit file date is very important for that one. But it's going to provide all of our motor vehicle litigation deadlines, including deadlines according to the Colorado Civil Rules of Procedure when they are due. Now you'll see all of these are coming up roughly the same date. It's because of the dates that I've put in there. But this is set up to show me from start to finish what I need to do and when for every step in litigation, all the way through trial, all the way past trial. It even reminds me to order snacks for the client for during trial week. It reminds me to make the jurors notebooks and how to do it and when they are due. It reminds me not only to file our initial disclosures, but to work on them. And it's set up to tell me to work on them in advance so that I also have time to then send it to our attorney for her to review. And it's set up so that she is triggered to review it in advance of when it's due, so that she's not as rushed to review it. After a trial, you get a great result and you're super excited and you're exhausted and you're drained and you just want to be done and catch up on sleep. And that can cause you to potentially overlook some things or forget some things that you still have to do after a trial. This checklist is set up to prevent that from happening. We mark in there, like I showed you on the case tab, when the trial date is. It populates the reminders for you. It knows when the trial is, and it knows when the trial ends. So we have this set up. So after trial, it's going to tell us you need to work on your bill of costs. You need to work on them, and then they are due for the attorney to review on this day. And then there's a trigger for our attorney to send it to the court or to file it in the court so it can be reviewed by this day. And then it's going to remind you to follow up on this and this. It's going to remind me to send all of our accepted pages of documents, records, all of that, file them with the court. It tells me to do all of that so that we're not over trial, exhausted, and just collapse. It tells us and reminds us to keep going and what is next and when. So like I said, this is my favorite tab. This keeps everybody on track. It is very, very hard for steps to be forgotten because this reminds you. Another little tidbit in here that we have customized and added for a lot of these checklist items. Say Erica is triggered to request the police report. We know that can take time. So when she hits done on this, it is automatically going to set up a reminder checklist item for her to follow up on it if she hasn't received it by a certain date. It will when she gets past that, it will automatically set up a checklist item to mark whether or not she has received it. In Colorado, for car insurance companies, they have a 30-day deadline from the date that the insurance company's registered agent receives our letter of representation to provide the full policy and deck page to us. So when she sends the letter to the liability insurance's RA, and hits done, this automatically populates a checklist item that asks, did you receive the green card for this? When that populates, if she hasn't received the green card, then we know that something's wrong with our mailing address or the post office, and we need to go look at the tracking. If we have received it, she marks done for the date it was received. And we have a checklist item that automatically populates for 30 days past that date to see if we have those documents in. If those documents aren't in by the time that that checklist item populates, that company owes us $100 a day until they provide those documents to us. That sounds silly, sounds crazy. We have gotten thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for our clients because of this checklist reminder to follow up on those deadlines for those insurance companies. It works. I'm not going to lie. We got a check for $57,000 for our client in addition to their settlement, simply because the insurance company did not provide us with the documents that they were supposed to provide us with. And we did that by following up and using our checklist and looking to see, oh, we don't have that, they owe us money. Can't say enough about the checklist. It does take time, but it's really, really worth it and can save you a lot of time, a lot of energy, and can prevent a lot of issues. If you have any questions about setting up your checklist or anything like that, let us know. We'd be happy to share some of our information and some of our planning on how we set it up. So I'll get off my high horse on the checklist. I can't say enough about it. I could talk for hours about it. But something else that we have done to make Neos the most efficient that we possibly can is our documents tab. Like I said before, all of our templates are in the Neos brain somewhere in the cloud. So we never have to leave this window. All of our documents that we could ever need are in here, not just templates that we're creating, but also documents that our clients are sending us. So Erica will show us some things about the documents tab.
So typically when I first open a case too, we send our clients just a welcome letter. So being that we have many offices here, sometimes what I like to do is just do Colorado. That way I'm just picking Colorado templates. I type in client to make it a little bit easier, and then we'll go client welcome and HIPAA. You will select next. Again, this is why it's super important to have the little plaintiff checked, because when you go in through fill out these blanks here, you will just put Rachel Green, client, we'll just do pre-lit correspondence. So you'll generate that. Usually it takes a while for it, and then it'll just pull up. And then I always click it just to make sure that everything is formatted correctly, paragraphs are indented correctly where they should be. For the most part, they always are, but again, I always just like to make sure and before I do anything else. So that's just kind of how it is for generating one document, but you can also go in and generate two documents. So, oops, I'll show you how. So let's say we're going to do a client welcome and we're going to send a blank. You just have to make sure that they are in the same list here. So that way you can check both boxes. Otherwise, it's just going to pick one document and it's just going to generate one at a time, which is fine. But if you want to save some time and be a little bit faster, you can select two. So again, you just fill in whatever it is that we'll just click here just for the sake of time. We'll generate those documents. Being that there's multiple, it'll tell you here, it might take a while, and then they will populate here automatically. And another thing with documents, so when we open a case, a lot of the times I already have clients emailing me pictures of the injuries, pictures of the scene. Most times I have many photos, which is good. That's what we want. We want to have all the photos we can get of what happened. So typically to do that, oh, I don't know where it went. Here, let's see.
It's here. I'll find it while you're talking.
Okay. Sorry about that. But yes, usually what I do is I will go to our client's folder. Typically by then I already have the folder set up. Everything is saved in there that they have emailed over to me. And I will just select all of the photos in that folder, and then I can just drag and drop to that document screen. You will have a bulk of photos pop up on your screen. And if they are all photos of injuries, you will just select a little check mark box. And you will just put, these are all photos, they're all photos of injuries, and then you just click save. And I do notice that the more photos you add, the longer it may take to download. Oh, there we go. So yeah, like I said, so we're going to pretend like all of these are photos. So we will just put photos, and we're gonna say that they are all photos of the injury. So
I noticed how we had 4 photos, all of the different categories, so we know what the photo is of before we open it.
yes, so we'll do this, and then you'll click apply, and then you will see here that they all apply. If sometimes, let's say that this is a photo, they're all photos, but you messed up and you decide that this is a photo of the footwear that they were wearing. You can always go back in there, change it, you click save, and then it'll just take a while. So here they are. You can always click back into it. And if you need to change the category, if you need to change it again, anything like that. So it's pretty easy. I like to do it better with the drag and drop versus just doing upload document, because then you can only do one at a time. Again, that's totally fine. For me, it's a little bit faster and I prefer just to do the drag and drop, but whatever works is totally fine.
Another cool thing that we use a lot with the Docs tab or Documents tab, I use it a lot, this feature in litigation a lot if we are needing to update initial disclosure, supplement them, something like that. You can very easily do that by duplicating the document. And then it will come up with the same title. It's just going to add a 1 at the end. Then we've got this all set up so I can change. I can put, first supplemented disclosure, so you can already see what I've done. I can update the date, so it'll be today, the day I've updated it. I can also put on here what I'm adding. For example, I could supplement with the police report, and it'll save that in there. Obviously, y'all know that these titles here can be changed to be what you want them to be, but we have ours set up in this specific way because that's what meets our needs. You can do it however you'd like, but type and category are big for us. So if I am looking for certain items, or I'm looking only for discovery documents, or I'm looking for only photos, I can search those up here and it'll show me only the ones that I want to see. I am getting close to time, so I'm going to kind of rush through a couple things so that I can show you the settlement memo and how we've set that up for our office. Medrecs and bills, we talked about this a little bit, but we've got, you can customize all of the different fields on here. You can make them dynamic or not. You can link the records here. You can upload records into here and they'll automatically go into the documents field. This is a big one that we really like. When I go through and I do redactions, if I see any red herrings or see any major issues, I type them in here. That helps if I'm on the phone with an adjuster and they call something out, I can just click on the provider and see if I had noted that issue as well. If we're calling a client and we're like, hey, this is an issue in your records, we've got it here listed. So I can tell them on this date, on this page, in this record, this doctor said this, and this is why it's an issue. We've got obviously tons of other tabs. Our attorney has set up the discovery tab for help or for filing information into when she's doing her depositions or 30B6s, etc., preparing for litigation and trial. Our litigation tab is amazing. I've got my list of contacts for that case all saved in here. My court contact information, WebEx information I put in here. And then our important notes from orders, little reminders for us to look back on rather than having to go through the online, CCF in Colorado or whatever the online filing system is in your state. We put our key hints, tips, rules, etc. in this. the demand tab for our employee that writes our demands, rather than having to go through all of the documents or emails from the client. We've got this set up to where everything she needs for getting to know the client a little more is already in here. We got it during the intake, or updated it throughout the case, added it in here, it's synced in, and she's just got to look at this to see what she needs. The value tab is a big one. I know that some firms have different permissions for different team members, etc. I'm just going to add a few things on here so that you can see how we use this and how we have created a settlement memo. I'll just put in this bill is $1,000 from Swedish. We put our account number in here, etc. Market, paid or whatever. Or we can show that the balance is on there. And then let's say we had case costs. Again, all of these fields are things that we have created. And there are certain ones that certain offices use and certain ones that our offices use, again, for, we're different offices, different ways that we do things, also different states. So there are different requirements for certain things. So say, our case cost for this one, for, let's just say, for filing fees, we paid $570. That's a really high filing fee, but for whatever it may be for. And we had to pay for it from the firm when we filed the document. So we've got that it will create a due to firm. Automatically comes here. I can look at subtotals and see, all right, we've paid out $570. That's what's owed to us at the end of the case, and get other information from that. So let's see, say, we've got the whole case, all of the medical providers, etc. We've got a settlement offer of small case. So we'll say the settlement was for $5,000. I think I used State Farm before, so I'll just keep that the same. And that's the BI settlement. Okay, I'm going to save that. And now I'm going to show you how we have created a settlement document for our firm. Again, because we have separate locations, all of us can create our own settlement documents for, whatever fits our location's needs. So we have one, say, we've got several that we have made. Some of them came with the platinum tier. Some of them have been customized to ours. We are Queener Law, the Denver location. So this is the one that we have created for us. And we can create it in Word or PDF. I usually create it in Word just in case I want to make any quick changes or anything. And then let me share where it came up so you can see the document that we have created and how it works. It's going to have our client's name and the case number at the top. It's got their recovery amount. If we also got med pay for this client, this will populate up here as well. It's going to have the itemized list of all of our case costs and the total here for our clients to review. It's going to have any unpaid medical bills that need to be paid for the settlement, any liens that need to be paid from the settlement. I didn't put our attorney fees on the value tab, but if I had, that would be in this section as well. So it gives them the total amount that is deducted from their settlement amount. And then this is the client's favorite part, of course, the amount due to the client to the penny. So they see on here This is the amount my check will be written out for to the penny. Then we have our personal client settlement agreement that our attorney created. Down here, that's automatically input as well. And then we just send this through Adobe Sign, or you can send it through DocuSign through Neos. And there we go. That's our settlement memo that our clients have agreed to. Again, on the front end, it can seem like it is a lot of work. But again, if you put the work in, this saves you hours, saves so much time if you use all of the options that Neos gives you to use. Whether that be through Platinum or starting with the Intake Pro or anything like that. And again, we make these changes and we update them as we need to, or if we see, okay, this isn't working, let's update it to this. Another great thing that we use quite often from Neos is their training options. That's why we know how to do all of this. If you have any questions on anything that we've gone over, you are free to reach out to us. We'll answer some questions. We'll give you our email addresses, but also taking advantage of the trainings and the self-help videos and questions that Neos already has is how we got to this point. Erica can tell you a little bit more about those.
Yeah, so with me, being that I was brand new to the firm last year, I had no experience. I was straight out of college when Queener Law hired me. So when I first started in Neos, it definitely was overwhelming. But Holly let me know, hey, if you go to the little question mark here at the top, you can actually go and watch videos so that way I could navigate through Neos, know what it's about, know how to work Neos. I really like their webinars because not only do they go into detail with what new releases they have, but they also do a screen share. So that way you're also getting an idea of where to go. And if for whatever reason you are, you miss it, you can always go to what's new and you can go as far back to, I believe it's November of 2021. Yep. And you can just click these articles and it'll just tell you what new features were implemented every month, all, like I said, all the way back to November of 2021. And it shows you in details with pictures as well. So it's just as helpful as if you were there at the webinar. But other than that, I think we're
Yep.
pretty.
I think we are close to
Yeah.
time. I think we have several questions.
Yep. Thank you, everybody, for asking these questions. Holly and Erica, I will leave it to you to determine which questions you'd like to answer live and then which questions that we can work on getting answered after the webinar.
Okay. All right, so I will start at the beginning. Is there a way to print this intake form blank in order to complete without the use of a computer input? I guess yes and no. It would depend on how you want to do that. So the intake form is not a template that we sent to Neos to have them put in. It was one that we created within Neos. So if you wanted to make it so you could have a physical copy, you could always, I guess, do a print screen setup, or reach out to us and we can give you some of the items that we've put on there. But I think the easiest way, if you already have it in Neos, would probably be to do a print screen because it is not a document that has been inputted in. However, if you are going to do it through the paper version, then you're losing some of the Platinum and Intake Pro features because it is not going to auto-populate. You would have to obviously use the document, type in the answers, and then create the case for it to populate. Does the agreement generate through DocuSign or Neos? Actually, neither. It generates through Microsoft Office. So it's generating through Word. We have it set up to generate through Word. and then it is saved into Neos, and then Neos has the DocuSign integration, so it will automatically go into DocuSign through Neos, but it is not actually generated in DocuSign or Neos. It is generated through the Microsoft Office integration. Do you generate in Neos and then have to send in DocuSign, or is there some automation there? You would just hit that DocuSign option if you have the integration set up, and it will automatically send it, give you the option to put where the signatures are through DocuSign, and send it through there, and then automatically sync it into your Neos. How do you handle checklist items that are only applicable in an intake, if an intake is made into a case, but come up during the intake phase of the case? We don't, because the checklist items that come up in an intake are only checklist items that are applicable for an intake. Our case checklist items do not populate or show up at all until it is made into a case. Then the rest of them do not populate until certain items are marked done to trigger the next items. So we don't have checklist items that we don't need showing up when we don't need them. They are set to automatically populate only when they are triggered by date or by a parent checklist item. When you complete a checklist item and it triggers a new task for another person, how is that next person notified that they have a new task? So that one is set up. It's very easy to do when you're setting up your checklist, and it triggers items that are assigned to other people. When each person views their checklist, it's automatically there. It automatically shows up in their checklist. For example, on my home screen, I have, let me move this and I can show you. I have my dashboard set up like this, and I've moved everything so I didn't show any clients' names or anything. But when I go to my home screen, it shows me my tasks for this day. Whether or not I triggered them or somebody else triggered them, they will automatically populate on their own and be on my checklist for that day that they need to be done. Most of what is being explained is more for plaintiffs. Can it be customized for defense litigation? Absolutely. This is set up for plaintiffs because we are a plaintiffs law firm. But absolutely, everything that I showed you is things that are firm personalized and customized. So if it doesn't work that way for you, you can make it work that way for you. For example, the case type would be where you would start. You would design your defense litigation case type for if it's, premises or whatever. You would design that for the items that you want to have and the customizations that you want to have for your client. It could look like ours, but it would have different words and different requests and different information that you would need. How do you add a status tab on the checklist? A status tab. I'm not sure.
I think where it says open.
Oh, here. So this, if you go into your settings and into the checklists, you can tell it what you want the options to be. Status is one of those options. If you already have that turned on and you may not know about it, then you can click this little waffle shape and make sure that status is checked. If it's not checked, it's not going to show up on here. But if it is checked and it's still not showing up, then go into, you may have to, if it may be admin only, or it may be open to anybody to look at, but go into your settings, case types, master checklist, and then open that checklist editing to see if it is already set up for you, or if you need to turn it on. Have you figured out how to get value tab to show remaining due to firm when you've got multiple settlements over time and you've already been reimbursed for some due to firms, but not others? Yes. So when we have due to firm, say we had a settlement and we got some of our settlement fees or some of our case costs, then we come in here and it depends on what you want to label it. You can label it as anything, as reimbursed, whatever, as make your own label. I usually will do it as attorney because it's going to the firm, and I'll put in that amount that is being paid, the firm as the provider, and then it will automatically populate the difference for us. It'll say what's left over as due to firm when I do that subtotals or when I do the settlement memo. How did you add the settlement memo? So the settlement memo, there are a couple ways to do that. Neos, your customer service agent, can help you with that. They have a couple of like pre-made options. However, our attorney made ours basically from scratch. She created what she wanted it to look like and what fields she wanted to have where, and then sent it over to our Neos rep, who did all the coding for us, so we didn't have to do that. And then it was uploaded as a template and added as a report. There are other options in the reports that you can create your own that are already made by clicking certain criteria that you want in the report. But ours was customized completely. They do have a generic settlement memo already in there that you can use. But again, we customize everything so that we're not having to edit or change anything later. It's already exactly how we want it. I am interested in your federal court checklist. All right, so we will put our emails into the chat and you can shoot us an email and we'd be happy to share that with you. Settlement memos, we talked about customizing that. All right, we created a Word document within Needles that pulls all the intake fields in blank or not so that we can ensure all questions are answered if we do an intake in person. Oh, that's a great idea. I'm assuming that you may mean Neos, but maybe you're using Needles, that's fine. Created a Word document that pulls all the intake fields blank or not. That's great. So the person that was asking earlier, about the having a printed view or a view that you can hold in your hand of the intake, that would be it right there. Make a template, upload it into Neos. It'll be in your docs tab, and you can create that document, generate the document, and it'll be there for you. Does your firm do partial disbursements? And if so, how do you handle it? We typically do not. We typically try to get the disbursement to be as complete as possible when we send checks. It's just, for us, it keeps everything more organized. It's less confusing for the clients that way. However, if you are doing partial disbursements, then the simple answer would be adding it to the value tab. So for a disbursement to a settlement, or excuse me, from a settlement to a client, we have it set up as client for the value code. and you would just put whatever amount that you're dispersing to them and list them as the provider. And then that will save on the value tab, and then it will auto-populate into the settlement memo. Let me show you that again and show you where that would populate. That would automatically populate right here as less previously paid to client. So our settlement memo is set up in case we do that. Typically we do not, but we can, and our memo is set up for that. So it would have an amount here for the amount that you had already dispersed to them, and then their updated in final in-pocket amount here. Can you show us how the partial due to firm payment looks like in a case, even if it's a screen grab? Okay. Okay. So if I am just doing a partial due, so if I'm understanding you correctly, are you, I think you're asking, say you have an amount and part of it was paid by the firm and part of it was not, or are you asking if we are getting part of our case costs back and part of them, we're paying part of the case costs now and part of them later? So I'll show you both quickly. The first one, say, let me add a case expense. We'll say it was $100 or $1,000. We'll say it was filing again. Save it. So say the firm paid 500 of that, paid by us. Then we can either go ahead and check or request the check there. I typically don't. I do it at the end of the case. But I can save, it creates a due to firm for that amount. I can save and add another payment. Shows me that 500 is left. And I'll say the other 500 was paid by, I don't know, just random insurance company. That's not going to be a due to firm because we didn't pay it. And then I'll save it. So now when I go to here, it's going to show me that for that checklist item, only partial was paid due to firm, or paid by the firm and is due to the firm. So it'll show you here that the case expenses were $1,570. However, some of that, only 500 is due to the firm. If you were talking about it, you're getting reimbursed for only part of the due to firm or only part of the case costs at a time, then I would simply put in here the amount that's going to come to the firm. And I would put, partial case costs or whatever. Save it. I would need to mark it paid. It would be paid by the provider, and then I would create the check request here. And the check request would automatically go to, for us, it's our attorney. For you, it may be whoever is in charge of the accounting there. How do you handle coordination between paralegal and attorney for, say, a petition or a demand drafted by paralegal? Do you use checklist items for the attorney to approve the document? We've been having to use tasks.office so we can have comments back and forth and collaboration can get tracked, but would love to do everything out of Neos if we could. You absolutely can do everything out of Neos. On our checklist item, you can't see it right now because it's a child item, but it tells me when it's time to write the demand, and it tells me when the demand is done written, because the person writing the demand has a checklist item that she clicks, and it triggers me to know that the demand is ready for review. The demand is in our docs tab. So we start with a template, We say if it's not in Neos, it's not real. We find the demand in here. I open it. It automatically opens with Microsoft Office. So it'll open with Word in this situation. I can make my edits on there. I can do track changes or whatever, or I can highlight my changes however I want to do that in Neos, or excuse me, in Word. And then I just save the document. When I save the document, it automatically updates in here. It automatically saves it to the version in here. It's also going to tell me when it was last accessed and who it was last accessed by. So, and then I would mark on my checklist, done reviewing, and it would trigger the next person to make those edits. And she'll see my comments, edits, underlined, whatever, highlights, etc., just by simply clicking on this document because it is the same document that I edited. Do you have a custom memo that you created to have only the items actually being paid, or do you include everything that is and is not being paid? Our document is set up, the settlement document is set up to show only what is owed. We have tried doing the settlement memo to show everything, whether it's been paid or not. That caused a lot of confusion with our clients. So now we have changed it to where it's only showing what is outstanding for our clients. It's less for them to look at and to go through and try to understand. Because most of the time, this is the first time they're going through something like this. So it's all brand new to them. However, if we have a, say we've got co-counsel for a case, we can go on the value tab and we can create a report that only shows the costs. So if I am sending our case costs to another attorney or to co-counsel, whether they have been paid or not, I can do that with a memo. So I can show a memo that's only due, that's showing it only due only what is still outstanding and due. This is the one I use most of the time, the case expense summary. It shows every case expense in the value tab for this case, and it will have another column showing whether it has been paid or if it's outstanding. And we can just send that off to co-counsel so that they have all of our case costs. And again, this can be showed if it's outstanding or if it's been paid. You can also add that into your settlement memo if you want all of that. But again, we try to keep it a little bit simpler so that we're not overwhelming the clients with information that they may not necessarily want to know. Now, obviously, if they ask, what has been paid, what was this, then we can either edit our settlement memo or we can use one of the stock ones that have already been provided by Neos and go from there. Let's see. Sorry, I'm peppering you. No worries. That's why I am here and Erica is here today. If you have any additional questions, let us know and I will put our emails into the chat. Marissa, if I put it in the chat, can everybody see it?
I think it should be, but if not, we can also include it in the thank you email if you're comfortable with that.
That is fine because it's not even letting me ask a question. It's only letting.
Okay, we will put it in the thank you email. Everybody, thank you so much for joining. Holly, Erica, thank you so much for this webinar. It's been incredible. And we look forward to having you back on again soon. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day.